Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I am your host, Glacier Crossfield. Today we have a world-renowned author and the world's best. I stumbled the words. The world's best leading female dating and attraction expert. There we go. I fumbled that, but hey, I'm human. So,
Hi.
how you doing? Please introduce yourselves.
Yeah. Okay, Kezia Noble, leading female dating and attraction expert for men. I have been teaching men how to increase their success rate with women since 2006. Published author, a best-selling book called The Noble Art of Seducing Women. I did not pick that name. My publisher forced that name. I wanted something a little bit more subtle than that. And yeah, I run a company now that has different programs for men, obviously, and it's run by myself, and I have a team of 20 of male and female coaches. So yeah, that's what I do.
What book title name would you have preferred?
I wanted to have The Men Who Make Chemistry. I thought it was more kind of subtle, but they said no. They knew what they were doing. They were like, no, when people certain search terms just wouldn't make sense. So I'm glad that they chose it in the end.
What made you interested in this career path?
I was headhunted. I was approached by a guy in a bar back in 2006, and he ran a pickup artist company. It was kind of like, it was more pickup in those days. And he just said that he needed some girls to give some feedback to their clients. Like, we would like test it out on like guinea pigs, like their chat up lines and stuff, and just wanted to get female feedback. So I was like, yeah, why not? Sounds fun. I mean, I went there thinking, this, am I allowed to swear or no?
Do whatever your heart desires.
I was like, this is going to be a load of shit. Obviously these guys are getting conned because, it's just like attraction's there. It's not. It's chemistry's there. It's not. You can't force it. But actually, I was really surprised. I saw how much these guys had improved over the course of the weekend. That's the first thing I noticed. So I went from skeptic to believer. And the second thing that I noticed was that the other women there who were like similar age to me, I was like in my mid-20s then, they were just giving really generic advice to the guys, generic feedback, like just be yourself. They'll just turn off my emails. Just be yourself, smile more, make her laugh. And I was like, these guys are paying like $500 to hear that. They could hear that from their sister. So I'm a very, very straight to the point, direct person. And so I just, told them what I thought, truth. And what happened is I thought as I was leaving that they were going to come after me with pitchforks. But actually, a lot of them said, oh, do you do private coaching? Are you part of the company? I was like, no, what are you talking about? And then what happened is the guy who ran the company, he was like, no, we need someone like you. Do you want to come next weekend? And I ended up going every weekend at some point. And then I started having private students under the company's banner. And then I started working with them properly. And then I set up a YouTube channel on the side. And that's when it changed everything, that YouTube channel, because the videos were so badly done. Like, how it is in 2008 or 2009 or something. No one knew what they were doing with videos. And, but it was getting a lot of traction, and I was getting a lot of followers, and the views were, going up and up. And then that's kind of around 2010. That's when I got the book deal and I left the company. So I was kind of headhunted. I didn't didn't set out to do this, but I found I was really good at it, and I find it really interesting. Like, I find psychology interesting, social dynamics interesting, and I think you can apply what I teach to a lot of different areas of your life. That's certainly the feedback that I've got from my students.
What do you what do you think is the biggest struggle that men have in dating today?
I think it's the same as it's always been. It's the biggest one is approach anxiety. Just being able to just go up and start talking to a woman. but now we have dating apps, so they've kind of found a way to sort of bypass that a little bit. But then the next point is, having a stimulating conversation, something that communicates their value, something that's impactful, connective. Most people just don't know how to do that. They just end up having chit chat, small talk. And the other one is like building attraction. So a lot of guys who are good conversationalists maybe doesn't necessarily mean that they understand which buttons to press to trigger her desire.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what are some of those buttons?
I mean, there's so many. Well, the first thing is that I think men need to understand how female desire works. It's more complicated than male desire. So male attraction, in the early stages, I should say, is it's down to three things. Number one, overwhelmingly the woman's looks. That is most important to men. Secondly, second one, excuse me, is if she's availability. And third is she compliant? The three things that a guy in the selection stage are looking for. Whether she's clever or smart, what her political views are, not really, it's not so important. That's important in a relationship, but just if they're looking to have some fun, they're the three things they're looking for. As women, it's a lot more multi-layered. So they are looking for looks, of course, but it's very much for women how a man makes them feel, how he operates the room, what other people think about him. How do other women react to him? His confidence. It's so many things that women are trying to identify in a man before she can feel attracted to him. Whereas a man can just be like, well, she's really hot, so okay, she's dumb, fine, this, that. She has all these sort of defects, but her looks will eclipse the defects, where with women, just looks is not enough to carry a guy through. So, being playful, being cocky, women tend to like that. If you're quite playful with a woman, quite cheeky, you can kind of like establish connection pretty quick. You're not trying. See, the early stages, it's very difficult. The guy's trying to sort of get in there a bit with her, but he's being probably really over polite, and he's playing it safe. He's playing not to lose rather than playing to win. So he's being really, really careful. Whereas if he just goes in and he's quite cheeky and playful with the girl, then it almost, in a way, equalizes the power dynamic in the interaction by doing that. It doesn't have to be done in a horrible way. I mean, in a very nice way, being playful. And then what happens is, if you're quite playful and cocky, you'll find that you can go into sort of the flirting stages. You can transition from being playful to flirting a lot easier than if you're just very serious and then you go in and sexually escalate. But there's so many ways. I mean, I'd have to sort of look at specific situations. That's how I kind of teach and explain things, rather than just giving an overall.
Do you know the biggest struggle with women when it comes to dating?
Well, for dating, getting the man, I think what happens with women, and this happens to men too, but it's when a woman starts really liking the guy, that's when everything starts going wrong. The neediness. And every guy's experienced that woman where it's a neediness. It suddenly becomes, she's too available. She's just, it's too easy, the whole thing. And guys really know when a woman's really keen on him. They know, even if the woman sort of tries a little bit to disguise it, they know. And I feel, from what I hear from men and from women and in my own experience, is that that's when the guy is a little bit, gets cold feet. I think men like the challenge so much and the chase that when it kind of flips on them, even if it's very subtle, they don't like it.
So how long
Would
How?
you agree with me? Would you agree with me?
Yeah,
Because I don't teach women. I only teach men. So I'd be quite curious to.
I would definitely agree with that. When it becomes too easy, it does the clinginess does kind of pushes away. But then it like vice versa, where sometimes the men will become too available for the women, and the women are
Mm.
oftentimes unattracted to that. So, but my question is, for a long-standing, sustainable relationship, does it? Do you ever give in and just make it easy, like too easy for your partner, or is it forever a thing where you can never make it too easy for the rest of your life?
Right, that's a really, really good question because my friend, he's going through something like this with his wife right now. He married. I will get to your question, but just to give some context to my answer. So my friend, he got married quite quickly to a woman, fairly quickly because he's quite old, so he wanted to find someone quite quickly. And he realized he's like, oh my god, shit, I've got to run game on this woman, even though I'm married to her, not to the same level, but he found that he can't. It's not like just okay, we're done now, we're married, that's it. There's still a little bit of game that he has to use to sort of again keep a level playing field. You know, if one person's too powerful in the relationship, that's usually not a good thing. Especially, it doesn't matter which one, but that's what he's struggling with that right now. So back to your question, I think when you're in love with someone, I do believe, and this is not me being a romantic, but I do believe, and I've been in love before, that yes, I've noticed that game does kind of go out the window, and that's good. That's good. When you're in that point, we're like, look, we love each other. Then, yeah, you don't need to play games anymore. On the whole, you don't. I do think that you need to always kind of be aware uh, if you are neglecting the relationship or neglecting yourself. I think you need to be aware of that always. Because, you know, there's a lot of people who have marriages, and I'm sure you know some people, you've at least heard of it, where the other person's just like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And it's like, the person like, this came out of the blue. Where did that come from? I thought we were happy. I thought everything was okay. It's like, no, don't just, I'm done. I'm done. There was no lead up argument or anything like that.
Which which
And
gender,
that's
which gender normally does that though?
um from my understanding, it's pretty 50-50, but slightly more men. Slightly more men. But pretty 50-50. I've had a lot of clients come to me saying it's, you know, my wife just had enough, it's left me. But I've also know a few of my female friends who have unfortunately experienced that too. And I think what's happened is the other person just sort of, I'm not saying they're in the wrong, but because they sort of, what's the word? Not neglected, excuse me, when you sort of take for granted the situation, they take their eye off the ball. So they don't notice the affair that's happening, or they don't notice this person's acting a little bit off anymore. Again, that's not blaming the person. Okay, it's that if the other person's having the affair, it's their fault. I understand, you know, fine. It's more to do with that the that because you're so like sure that the marriage or the relationship is absolutely 100% watertight, fine, the person's never going to leave you. You neglect to see the telltale signs, and maybe it's like you're doing. That's the thing.
Mm.
Sometimes people leave and they say, well, look at you, you've got fat. It's not a good reason to leave someone, but it's just the other person kind of took took it for granted, the whole thing.
So, are you married?
I was married, I'm divorced.
Got you, got you. So there are gonna be some critics out there who believe that you're not qualified to tell them about dating because you don't have the marriage. What would you say to people like that?
Hmm. I would say do not take any advice from me about marriage. I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not a marriage coach. You've asked me questions. I've given you my answers.
Mm.
I'm a dating coach. I know how to get guys success with women. What they do with that success after, Go to a relationship coach. Ask that person. Mine's about dating and building attraction. I've never tried to sort of diversify what I do, or people have said, why don't you do this? Why don't you teach women? I'd be like, teach women, it'd be the blind leading the blind. No, I know what I'm good at, and that's what I stick to.
Interesting, interesting. So, how does someone break into this field? Because you were seek, like you were sought after, and kind of one thing just led to another. But if somebody's trying to intentionally get into this field, how would you suggest that they do that?
Well, we have, for instance, an academy. So we have each academy each year, we take on 10 new instructors. Some of them stay with us, some of them go and do their own thing, but we help them, we sort of mentor them. The ones I've got working for me, it is usually the instructors, the coaches know someone else, and they're like, this guy's really good. I've seen him in the clubs, give him a test run. A lot of them have YouTube channels. We find out that way. We approach them or they approach us, and they've got YouTube channels. My advice for somebody that wants to be a coach, come do the academy. Number one, obviously, shameless plug. But get a YouTube channel. That's what most people are doing now. Get a YouTube channel, share that knowledge. And I would also say, do a proper YouTube channel, not like a TikTok video that lasts for 30 seconds with your one tip for the day, because anyone can do that. But something like more long format.
What makes somebody qualified to speak? Because say hypothetically, I want to break into this field. Do I just start talking about things? Some people will say, well, why should I listen to you if you're just starting off?
No, something else I should have mentioned, excuse me, is that they need to be able to get results with women.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So if I go to a bar or a club and I say, okay, well, if I take them to a bar or a club, excuse me, and I said, well, you can talk the talk, now walk the walk. And if they go, oh, suddenly they become like frightened or scared, I'll be like, okay, so, my students are going to demand to see you in action. We can't, because these are live, this is live coaching. This is not somebody standing in front of a camera and selling online training programs. This is something they've got to go out there with them and show that they can do it.
Well, what do you think is the number one thing that men need to remember when it comes to seducing women?
Oh, there's so many things. Okay, be prepared for when she says no and have a chess move for that. So if, for instance, I'll just give you an example of one. So we got something called, sounds awful, last minute resistance, LMR. Have you heard of that? You're getting on with the girl, things are going really well, and she's like, actually, I've changed my mind. And honestly, it was like you were literally, 1 meter away from the bed kind of thing, right?
Meter.
So most guys would do one or two things. They'll either sulk. Men do that a lot. If the girls suddenly change their mind, they get moody and they sulk, angry, frustrated. And the others, what they try to do is they say, all right, okay, I'm going to use logical persuasion. I'm going to persuade her logically. I'm going to tap into her, the rational part of her mind, and she'll end up sleeping with me. It doesn't work. Attraction's not always logical. The best thing to do is to use something called freeze out. So, okay, cool. Put the light on, put the TV on, and friend zone her. Just treat her like a friend. Don't try and pour your way back to her. Don't try and ask her what's wrong or anything like that. Just change the vibe to something which is really not exciting at all. Now, she's much more likely, if you do that, not 100%, but much more likely to start, trying to get back to that point with you. Because the other two things 100% won't work. 100% will not work. If you're frustrated and angry, she's going to be like, you know what? I made the right decision. He's a dick. if you try and use logical persuasion, you're just going to sit there for an hour going back and forth, talking about everything under the sun, and not getting any action. And I actually had this done to me. So a lot of what I teach is based on things that have happened to me by guys who had natural game. Didn't know at the time. But yeah, guy used that on me, I remember, and it worked. I remember, and he said something. He said, like, this is going way back, but he said, I knew you would do that or something. Girls always do that. He was a real player, like, and I remember hearing freeze out method years later, thinking, oh, that's what he did, but he just obviously didn't give it a name. Wasn't really aware.
So in those situations, why did you have the last minute resistance?
Oh goodness. Oh God, I wish I wasn't old. I have to rattle this brain in my memory around.
It probably
Look, I've done it. Hold on, I've done it a couple of times. I think sometimes it's usually, I'm older now. I don't mess about with all this stuff, but it's usually younger women that do that. Older women don't mess about with this kind of stuff. They haven't got time for all that. But younger girls do, because they kind of think, oh, he'll want me more. He'll want me more if I stop him just as he's getting horny. Oh, he'll want me more, and he'll really, like, it is a power thing. But there are times when you actually just don't want to. You just think, I don't feel this is right. I think that I'm rushing this. So I can't remember the reason I did it. I can't. But it would have been for one of those reasons. Either power trip, make him want it more, tease him a bit, or it was because I think I genuinely felt this is feeling a bit rushed, or I'm not 100% sure this is a good idea.
Got it. Makes sense. How did the dating scene get this way today?
Bit what way? Can you give some context to that, please?
Because some people, do you view the dating scene as good today? Like, do you think that is good?
It's tragic.
Right. How did it get this tragic?
Okay, it's not as tragic as it was. I think it's like on an upturn, which is good, but it's very gradual. So I think before the pandemic, it was really tragic. But I think in a funny, fucked up way, the pandemic kind of made everyone say, I don't want screens anymore. I don't want to be communicating through screens. I say that and we're talking through a screen. But I mean, like, if I was where you are, if I was in the same city, we would have chosen to meet up in person. So I think now I've noticed, like, people are starting to say they're getting, it was the dating apps that really, it was dating apps and social media. It was dating apps, social media, and slightly the whole Me Too stuff that made it difficult. But that's getting a bit kind of like, yesterday's news kind of thing. But the dating apps, I think people have come to the realization, especially through that pandemic and after that, and exhausted it, is that they are not proving to be this silver bullet. They were promised to be a shortcut. Everyone thought this is a shortcut to getting women or getting men. And it was at first, but now it's people have realized that it's becoming unenjoyable dating. Everyone, when they meet up, it's kind of like, oh, she doesn't look like their photograph. First thing, there's something a bit weird about them, but off. And this is because we're all judging each other through, like, a one-dimensional photograph that's edited. Do you remember when people used to look better than their photographs? Do you remember? Like, oh, it's a bad photograph. She's much better in real life. And people took shit photographs. Everyone looked bad in their photos. It's the opposite now. Everyone looks better in their photos. So whatever happens, apart from some very, very, very rare cases, is you're immediately disappointed when you see that person. He is not as tall as he said he was. She is not as thin as her pictures portray her to be. And or whatever you like, or she's not as young, pictures, you can do a lot to make yourself look a lot younger. So there's already people are a little bit disappointed. But the big thing is that have all become so replaceable. You're just one swipe away from the next person who'll be sitting in that seat the next day, you know, the same questions. It's not romantic. And so people are looking for that organic way of meeting a person. I noticed, like, I went out in the summer, last summer, and I went out and I was like, I was chatted up by all these young guys. And I was like, this is like, I look better 4 years ago. Why am I getting chatted up now? And it's kind of like, I spoke to some of them. They're like, don't use dating apps anymore. They actually said that. I remember they're like, we don't want to use dating apps anymore. We're done. But 4 years ago, before the pandemic, I would say chatted up less. I was chatted up less. And I definitely don't look better now or anything. Maybe the same, but definitely not better. So I think people are just saying I've had enough, and men are being more proactive again. So we're on a general, like, it's an upward trend, but it's still tragic.
It's starting to be less tragic though.
Yes, slightly less tragic. That's a good thing.
So when you say upward trend, is this an upward trend for men in dating or just the overall dating scene?
Upward trend as in people are, as I said, going back to meeting women in real life. A lot of men have woken up and smelt the coffee. You hear about it, you see on social media, just like, you know, the only guys that are really doing well from these apps are the really, really good looking guys.
Yeah, nothing can simulate for face-to-face interaction. Look at these numbers. Please subscribe and help me out. Love you. Nothing.
That's why I don't use them. I don't use them because I look at the guys that I've ended up with, and a few of them have been my type for sure, but a few of them have really not been my type physically. Like, the first thing I thought when they came over to me was, no, no, thank you, not for me. And then after about 5 minutes, I'm like, he's very charming. Or it's just, you know, his aftershave combined with the way he walks and operates. It's again, women, it's more multi-layered, and you know, a photograph is just not going to do it. So if you're like not her type, she'll swipe before you've even been able to charm her or show her, you know, whatever your attributes are, whether you're that funny guy or the guy that can connect or intense, whatever it is that makes women find you attractive.
That's the beauty of being a man, where we can approach and completely not be your type, and then we can work our way into something. But it's very hard for women to do the same with men. If you're not our type, it's we might continue the conversation with you, but there's probably no chance of you getting somewhere with him.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you there.
Can I get an example?
Please, yeah.
Like, cause I'm hypothetically, if she is an overweight woman, and
Okay, yeah, extreme. You're going to use an extreme.
that's extreme. I mean, if she's relatively attractive or somewhat attractive, she has a chance.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant if she's not exactly your type, like if you like. No. Okay. Yeah, men will sleep with an attractive woman that's not their type.
Yeah, definitely. But in the reverse, to say an unattractive overweight man approaches a woman, he can still work his way. It might take more work, but he can still work his way there.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
We've seen it. We've had our students. We've seen it. You know, and they thought, oh, come look at me. I haven't got a chance. Go look at my video testimonials. Have a look what they look like. The guys, they're not all handsome men. Some of them are, which proves that actually proves that looks is not a, you know, immediate guarantee of success. But most of our guys are like average to below average looking, getting results.
Got it. So what would you say is some of your bigger goals as a dating coach?
My goals? Professionally, what my goals are?
Yeah, like just the things that you want to accomplish as a dating coach.
Oh, well, I did something recently that I wanted to accomplish for a long time. Is I wrote a new book, which actually wasn't about dating. So I've got a few books, And this was a book. It's called The Irresistible Option, and it's about how to use 10 how can I put it? So how to use like 10 aspects of attraction and how to implement them into your marketing, into your sales. So that was something I wanted to accomplish. Very happy with that, because it came to me years ago. We had a guy who his student who ran a company which did not advertising, copywriting. And he said to me, oh, you know that a lot of this stuff that you teach, you can kind of use it for marketing, like we have something similar. And then he asked me, oh, who does your sales pages? And I said, me. He's like, you did you study it? I was like, no, I didn't. And I realized that my sales pages are good because my sales copies are good because I kind of understood the principles of attraction and seduction, and I was subconsciously using it in my my emails, sales, sell copies. And so then he said to me, I remember he joked and said, oh, you should write a book about this one day. It'd be quite interesting. And, oh, maybe I will. Yeah. So I had some time and I did it. So it's like, so it's 10 principles of attraction and how you can apply them to your marketing. I'm very proud of that book. It's done very well, actually. Thank you.
It's called Irresistible what?
The Irresistible Option.
Irresistible Option. Are your books on Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon, got audio, Kindle, ebook. 2 books are in, is it published format? What do you call it? Physical format, which is The Noble Art of Seducing Women and The Irresistible Option. The rest of them are.
Got it. I definitely plan on reading both of them. And I like the titles too. You must have a team working with you for these titles, man.
All me. Apart from The Noble Art of Seducing Women, that was the one that was not my idea. It's cheesy. It's just a really good book. It's still doing well. It's still doing extremely well.
I like the name because your last name's Noble.
I know. It's a play on. You could do a lot. I've got a good surname for this kind of stuff, I suppose.
I'm noticing all your British vocabulary, and it's interesting.
How different is it to American? Is it?
It's not drastically different, but like you say surname, we'll say last name.
Oh, right, yeah.
I noticed you said meter earlier. Well, we use feet a lot. I know you guys use feet over like the metric system over there as well. But
I use feet. Someone says to me how tall they are in centimeters. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, same.
So how tall are you? Can I ask that? Or is that a secret?
No. I'm actually very confident in my height. I'm 6'7".
What? Yeah. Not expecting that. Oh, that's okay. Well, that's extremely tall.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 5'8" or something because you're sitting down.
Oh no. Yeah, if I sit up, I don't know if that makes that much of a difference, but yeah.
What do you say when women say the obvious, which is, "Oh, you're really tall"? What's your line that you use back at them?
In what scenario? Am I just out in the street walking? Am I?
No, like there's a girl and you chat her up in a bar. I don't know your relationship status, but I'm sure you have chatted up a woman in a bar at some point, and she goes, people just always state the bloody obvious, don't they? They always state the obvious, and she just, you're tall, not in a bad or a good way, just like a dumb way. What's your response? I'm very curious.
I say thank you, or yeah, I've noticed, or
I've noticed.
I get that a lot.
It's a good thing is when you have something about you that you just know is going to make people say a certain thing. It's always good to have that response. So,
okay.
So for instance, I always say to guys, look, there's 2 things that are going to come up in the conversation, inevitably. The first one and actually in no order is where you from, and the second is what do you do. So that's great. You already know what is coming along. So have a good answer for it. A lot of people don't think about it. They go, oh, I just say what I do. That's it. It's like, no, this is your opportunity to communicate high value data about yourself. This is really important. Guys have got to understand that opening part is the most important. The opening part of the interaction, not the opening line, but that transition from opening line to full-blown conversation. That's where most guys fall apart like a cheap suit. But also it's those early stages where she's thinking, am I going to invest in this person? I know it sounds pretty that sounds pretty reptilian. But here she is. She's thinking like, okay, what's this person about? And if he's just giving these kind of very wishy-washy, dull, low impact answers, and it doesn't matter. Like a lot of guys think, well, I have a boring job. So why would she, what can I say if I have a boring job? Yeah, say my job's fucking boring. Go say it to her, that unapologetic truth. She go, why are you doing it then? Oh, it makes me loads of money. I love traveling. So, I spend all my money on traveling. You're talking about your passion. There you go. A lot of guys think they have to have this exciting James Bond lifestyle to be impressive. It's more about how you say it. I know a lot of guys who've got very interesting jobs. They're boring as shit. The way they talk about things, and I met guys who don't work, literally unemployed. But the way that they sort of say it and not even explain it, it's just they have this kind of funny way of this banter, we call it. I don't know if you guys have the same expression, banter.
Yeah,
chat.
Yeah,
it's so important when you meet. Come on, when you meet somebody now who's got chat, it's really special, isn't it? It's man or woman, it's good. It's like it gives you a buzz when you're with those kind of people. Makes you feel fun and happy. That's so many people don't have it. They don't have it. They're just anodyne, generic wishy-washy answers, generic wishy-washy questions. And then it becomes like a very filtered, boring, low impact interaction.
I get you. And I think height is overrated. I think a lot of guys think that the height gets them just a swarm of women. I know plenty of men who are 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", are doing exponentially well with women. So
yeah, look, height, I have to be honest here, it's most usually women prefer a guy who's tall, right? They do.
She prefers more so just taller than her.
No. For me, my perfect height is 6 foot. Absolutely perfect. I can even spot a guy in the street who's 6 foot. And I go, you're 6 foot. You are exactly that sweet spot, that height I love.
5'11". You tell the difference between 5'11" and 6 foot?
Yeah, I get it right. I met this guy once. It was a blind date. And I remember him saying, what did he say? He said, I'm 5'11". I was like, okay. I said, you're not 5'11" when I met him. Don't lie. You're 5'10". He's like, yes, I am 5'10". But I didn't care any, and I still liked him. But it was just, don't lie about it. Don't lie. Own it. Completely own your height. I own my age. Look, I'm an older woman. And a lot of people say, why didn't you lie about your age? I said, no, I have fun with it. Say all sorts of funny things to guys about my age. I tell them that I've got handbags older than them and things like that. Or, I was taking drugs when you were like in nappies, it's like diapers, as you guys say. It's owning it. That's what people like. You got to really own it. Unapologetic truth. People underestimate the power of unapologetic truth.
Yeah, definitely. I never understood guys lying about their height, because when she sees you in person, like I've heard stories of guys who are 5'8" who said they were 6 feet. Like that's such a clear difference. Like how is she not gonna notice that 5'9" to 6 foot? It's such a clear difference. I don't know why you would
I don't
think.
understand why women lie about their age. I mean, maybe I should say I'm older, and then people go, "Oh, you look really good for your age." Like, why do women say they're younger? It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, but you look older than that, and he's going to think you've aged really badly, rather than just saying, well, I'm 44, 43. They go, oh, you look okay for that age,
Got you. And is that your age?
I'm 42.
Oh wow. Okay. I would have definitely guessed lower than that.
What, 41?
40 was actually my favorite number, but now I would have probably said you could pass for mid 30s.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Face yoga. I do a lot of face yoga. I really highly recommend it to everyone. Face yoga changes the structure of your face. It's lifted my face.
That's like facial exercises?
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
It
gotcha.
hurts. It hurts. And you can get like some days your jaw's just like, I can't barely move. But it pays off. I mean, soon I'm gonna have to get the old kind of surgery done. But I'm trying to delay that as much as possible. And I found that face yoga really it's given me an extra 3 years.
Hmm. Wow. If you could pick one thing for all men to know about dating, what would it be?
Dating. Okay. Gosh. The most important thing is that she has to understand that your time and energy is valuable. I think that's the point where women sort of get turned off guys. I think men are the same actually, but as soon as a guy is too available, I think that's when she starts taking advantage or taking him for granted. But I combine that a little bit with don't be that guy she can second guess. Being predictable is the death of attraction. Come on, how many times have you been in like a relationship, early stage, you think, oh, I know they're going to say that. It really is the ick. It gives you that ick. You just know they're going to say that, and you get obsessed about it, and you start testing them to see if they actually say it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're torturing yourself. No, guys have got to be very, very aware of that. Like, what is she expecting? If she's expecting me to call her at this time, she's expecting me to laugh at that joke, or she's expecting me to say this or have that opinion. Keep her on her toes. Don't let her second guess you. That's a big one, and you can convey that, you can communicate that, you can implement that, I should say, in lots and lots of different ways. So yeah, the time and energy are valuable. She has to understand that she's not your priority until she's earned it. And she can't second guess you.
That's about right. I like that one. She's not your priority unless she's earned it. I like that one. If you could pick something for all women to know about dating, what would you say?
Oh, men are very sensitive. Whoa.
Think so? About
Men are this whole, oh God, men are underneath all that. They're very sensitive. More than women, I'd say. From my
interesting.
experience.
In general
Yeah.
or something specific?
Something specific.
I know I'm asking you, men are sensitive in general, or
Oh,
are you talking about something specific when you talk about sensitive?
no, not in general. They're not. No, so I should say that they can get. When I think a man's heart gets broken, it gets broken in two. It's like they. I think men, from what I've seen, it's they just feel things a lot more deeply than the bravado that they put on. I think when they do like a woman, it's more intense than when a woman really likes a guy. It's both intense. It's both intense, and there are some extreme kind of circumstances. And I'm not talking about the what's the word? The exception of the rule.
Uh-huh.
The word. And on average, when a man really does fall in love with a woman, I think it becomes it goes deeper. It goes very, very deep with men. And when men really love women, they really love a woman. They really love her. I've had a few guys in love with me, and it's like you can see the way they're looking at you. And they're thinking about you, and it's something. It sort of takes them over a bit. So I say to women, men are much more sensitive than you think. This whole bravado and stuff.
I
I don't buy it.
definitely say that, man, when you hurt us, we really don't forget. And
Mm,
oftentimes, one characteristic that I can't stand in people is people who go below the belt when you aren't on the best terms. And some women have that characteristic where they'll go below the belt when you guys aren't seeing eye to eye, and they'll say some things or do some things that'll really hurt you. And it's so hard for the man to forget that, man, because that hurt really does last. And women, I think, move on far more quicker than men do, because I think women have such much more of an abundance mindset that
mm.
they think that men are far more replaceable than vice versa.
I think there's an element of that, but I think women sort of when a man falls in love and then it ends, I think he can be quite. A lot of guys can be very guarded after that, very protective over their heart, whereas a woman tends to be more forgiving. She tends to, she might not like that guy anymore, but it doesn't mean she won't open her heart for somebody else. Again, there's exceptions to the rule. I am generalizing here, but I just know. Look, I work with so many of my students, and they're scared of women. Some of them, one of them, I've got his video online to show I'm not lying. He was a bomb disposal expert from the American military. That was his job, and he's terrified of rejection from a woman. Men aren't scared of women, and says like they meet a woman and go, "Oh, it's more like the rejection part." If she doesn't like me, if she thinks I'm a creep, that's the biggest fear men have, is the creep. They don't mind if a woman says, "Well, you're just physically not my type." They can take that. But you're creepy. That for a man is like, oof, that could really make them feel dreadful. That's what they're really worried about. So look, a lot of the guys come to me and it's like, so many of them have gone and ended up with toxic mental women. I find that fascinating. A lot of men out there really fall for these tragic women. I'll use that word again, tragic. These kind of tragic, mental, crazy women. I find that fascinating. Why do I keep going out of this kind of woman?
Yeah, I never understood it. Where I know some men who prefer the toxicity, and I'm like, that's crazy. I like
Oh, me too. I'm like you, but then again, it's probably my age.
they do mention that the sex is normally pretty good though with women like that. So
Yeah, but
it's
you
not.
can't build it. You can't build a relationship on that. You cannot build. This is someone that might be the mother of your children. You want a crazy, crazy person to look after your babies?
I know some horror stories, man, both on TV and in real life, about if you impregnate the wrong women, it's just hell on earth.
Yeah, how many of them turn out to be good mums? I'm sure a couple of them do, because I became a mum, and it does. It is a wake up call. I wasn't a crazy person. I wasn't one of these crazy women, but I was definitely not who I am now, not as disciplined mentally or anything. So it can fix a woman having a baby. It can fix a woman, but it usually just it makes it worse. They become worse if they're in a sort of toxic, unstable emotion, state of mind. Having a baby on top of that is just extra pressure, extra aggravation.
And my final question, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, goodness. I'm not a legacy kind of person.
What do you want to be remembered for? Or are you just, that doesn't do anything for you? Like,
No, I really, um,
interesting. Maybe that's more.
really not. No, my whole thing is all the money, everything that I work, that I have, just is going to go to my children. I'm happy for that.
All right then. Well,
Sorry, that's a really kind of boring answer. I'm just not one of these people. Like when I'm dead, I'm dead. That's it. It's
that's fine.
finished.
Maybe
No
the,
one's going to talk about me. People, I've got this theory just before you go. Sorry. It's like Michael Jackson was the most famous man on the planet. Would you agree?
substantially by far, yeah.
Yes. Now, I put out something on Twitter saying, who's the most famous person ever? Apart from, like, I said, there was one thing you couldn't pick, which was like, I can't remember. I can't even remember what I said. And I was like, people are picking this person, that, but who the fuck are these people? And I was like, what about Michael Jackson? They're like, he's not that, and then I spoke to someone, a younger guy. I said, do you know who Michael Jackson is? Because I dated him. He was much, much younger than me. And he goes, yeah, he's the guy who's saying, tee hee. I was like, you are fucking kidding me. So people have already stopped talking about Michael Jackson or starting to not know who he is. So where's my legacy going to be?
Even
Like
died.
literally, my funeral will happen, and people will stop talking about me the day after that funeral. My name won't be mentioned again.
And he didn't die that long ago either. He died like two was it 2000
Even you've forgotten, you see? 2000, 2010.
2010. There we go. I remember
Something like that. It might have been 2009 actually. But
9.
yeah, when we don't talk about him anymore. We know who he is, but your kids, my kids, they'll have an idea. Their kids,
Yeah, their kids. They they'll know eventually though. They'll know eventually. I think even our grandkids, they'll grow up and they'll eventually run into Michael Jackson. Like Kobe, people will like, but again, the fame is nowhere near equal to that of when they were alive. Everybody knew who Michael Jackson was in 2005, and far less people know currently. So
I'm
I'm
just saying this guy's legacy is huge. No one's going to top that.
as far
No
as
one, no one's going to top that. I can, in this day and age, in the era of TikTok and things like that, no one's going to have that kind of legacy, right?
it's probably like people probably think Logan Paul is more famous than
Oh shit!
honestly, these
We're
kids.
going to use that word again. Tragic. That's tragic.
That is tragic. Well, it is.
So my legacy is just going to, if Michael Jackson's legacy is running out after just 10 years, what hope do we have, really?
Yeah, I think that might be more of a man thing than who care much more about legacy and how to be remembered, leaving something behind.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to be known for being the 42-year-old woman who looked 35. That's good.
That's not a bad legacy, man. I'm sure a lot of other women would want to share that with you. Sure. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to me. Make sure you go comment, subscribe, all that good stuff over there. Her everything will be in the description. Make sure you go read those books, man. Reading's important. I love reading, man. I'm definitely gonna get one of those books. So God bless you and have a wonderful day.